This is not Michelle, it's Frank Emspak from Madison, Wisconsin. And we are plugged into the global teach-in, and it says on air, but no camera yet. In any event, if we are on the air and there's no camera, since I'm used to doing radio, not audio, we make a report from Madison. And what's going on in Madison, Wisconsin, as many of you may know, is that we are in the midst of a major political upheaval. The problem, and I think the model and the information that might be most useful for the rest of the world, is that we're trying to find a way to break out of the usual two-party cycle and the usual arrangements with simply an election once every 3 or 4 years. So there's been this massive movement to recall, and that means to have an election outside of the cycle, to have a candidate run against the governor, and preferably to overturn the previous election. What's at stake here is the formation of a new state government, and hence the reversal of various efforts to change the laws that have just been passed. We're just getting some technical assistance here. Let's come on over.
Are you okay?
I don't know. It says on air and get camera and voice, but there's no picture of me, so maybe the camera isn't working. But in any event, we are busily working away. So the point about what's happening here, and what I think is important for everybody to understand, is that there is a possibility under Wisconsin law, if people vote again in June, in the recall, to change the governor, change the assembly, and hence to change the composition of the government and restore, if people wish, the various collective bargaining rights that were lost. I think what is happening here, which is different than elsewhere, and which is the real test and is the model for elsewhere, is the very clear notion that we should change the parameters of the electoral system and move it outside the usual once every 3 or 4 years and no political involvement. I think the second thing that's happening here is a sense that if that doesn't work, the political sort of landscape is diminished. There's very little discussion going on in the politics about various policies. Many of them are sort of shadows of a neoliberal policy. Even some of the progressive Democrats are unwilling to raise fundamental issues about how our taxes are structured. That being the case, I think what we're going to see, even with a new administration, is an increasing move towards activity in the street, in a sense that the political process is breaking down. The recalls are an example of that. We've heard this from other speakers, that there is, on the one hand, the need to have other structures, economic structures, worker-owned co-ops, and so forth, and Gar spoke about that quite well. And here in Madison, in fact, you could do a tremendous amount if people were willing to do it, but also a sense of the diminishing capacity of the political structures as they exist in the United States to really do anything more than become advertising agencies at the behest of 300 or 400 people. Maybe in the Democrats, it's 800 people. But we're still talking about the purchasing of the whole country. And that is really what's at stake here in Madison. And I think in Wisconsin, it's a push back against that. And without that, it means the political process is essentially closed to progressive ideas here. And if we don't win the recall elections, they will be perceived throughout the United States as a vindication of this right-wing, anti-working class, anti-people, anti-democratic rights agenda. So that is sort of our report from Madison. And I think that really, in a way, we are the ground zero for what's happening in this country. And in a certain sense, we need to find a way to make sure we win. So that's what's happening in Madison. Thank you. Everything just went black here, so I hope, I don't know whether that means we're off the air or not, because I have no way of responding to people because we had to move our broadcast booth, and so I can't hear unless somebody else speaks from the conference. And I know that my time is just about up, and you can answer questions offline. If you wish to contact us, you can reach me at frankemspak@gmail.com. I'd like to talk to you about what's happening here. From our perspective in Madison, we found the discussion today very, very interesting. And I think we learned a lot and saw a way to use this technology to bring more people together. So thank you very much, and I hope